All right, so yesterday I was trying to understand few things. First of all, why this thing works on. I mean, I do understand why this definitely works, but I don't necessarily understand um, how would I manage a synchronization for cross measure elements or cross page elements, doesn't matter. So I need to understand the pattern which breaks that synchronization. And one more thing that I understood while I was thinking during the day is that this function which is calculates max time for measure, I think it was right before. It should be min time for measure, I suspect, because otherwise you wouldn't you wouldn't be able to detect the right moment when certain voice should start. It's hard to explain without whiteboard, but yeah, the thing is, it was correct before. So it should be min time, and I need to rename it as min time for measure. And yeah, for some reason I cannot rename it, which is sad. Okay, something is broken with my thing. I don't see the change. Okay, so let me maybe... I don't want to close it prematurely because I would like to... I would like to change this thing. Okay, let me just copy this thing and remain like this. And if I'm gonna run the tests, yeah, so the file is renamed, but it's not showing here, which is... okay, so we got two files. Alright, so I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna delete this one, hoping that I don't need it. Okay, so yeah, and of course there are a few failing tests. For some reason this one and the other two. Okay, so now what do I need to understand? So we are assigning this timings here, and I need to understand maybe this value somewhere changes, but I don't think so. It's not likely. I think it changes only on this surface. And also another thing that I'm quite curious about is so if we're going to take this thing at the end of each measure, right? Or am I crazy? So wait a second. So okay, yeah, so this goes at the end, and basically we're synchronizing those things. And if I go here again, yeah, I'm going basically through every stave, every voice, and trying to understand this thing. So yeah, fair enough. So I need to understand the pattern of breaking synchronization, of the synchronization, and I need to start somewhere, right? So yeah, probably I need to create before I start looping through staves, like one more time. So this goes like this regardless. In the inner cycle, I think we can copy this thing, and we are going to delete this line, and we are going to uncomment this, and yeah, and so ideally in those examples I don't necessarily need this adjustment where, or maybe I do need this, but yeah, so yeah. So time progression, and we okay, so so to my understanding, we should have time progressions like always the same, at least in those examples. I don't know if that's true or not, so let's call this value like I don't know, a value, or rather time too much, or I don't know how to call this variable, like it's temporary thing but still time to check against, something like this. And it should be, I believe, it should be 0 at first, let's say, or not there, or maybe not 0. Let's leave it as undefined, and here, so if this thing is undefined, then we are going to how to say, we are going to assign this value here, and yeah, and let's say if this thing is not equal to this thing, then I suppose we are going to throw an error immediately, which tells us measure index, of course, stave index, and voice index. So let's run specific test, which is example 1. Stave params is not defined. Okay, so okay, no worries. I think we need to just do something like this, and yeah, it should work. Example 1. Can treat property of undefined reading 0. Which line? 171. Yeah, because we need to do this thing. Actually, there is another alternative which is even more logical, I would probably go right after this thing and check after how to say, after we got all the updates. Example 1. Okay, so error, first measure, so it immediately starts breaking up, which is interesting. So first measure, first stave, and first voice. So let's open our example and see. So I'm curious. Let's see real difference. So I'm gonna just put this thing, and after I'm gonna put this thing. Okay, there is a significant difference. Okay, so why this happening? So I believe this thing goes. Okay, that's interesting. So maybe we can go and put this thing before synchronization just to see how exactly it affects everything, right? Yeah, there is a slight addition to all those things, which is, yeah, I wouldn't say it necessarily adds up the preciseness of that thing. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's that they're equal in this case either. So okay, so I believe that the second measure the second stave even, and yeah, wait a second, if it's quarter, then this is a quarter, and this is a half, then yeah, then we immediately drop second voice, and this is why this thing happening. Right, so while we're calculating minimum, we kind of like understand that yeah. Okay, that's such a weird case. Because because here we have two voices and then immediately I drop it, but this thing lasts only these two sound units, and then there is only up thing, and yeah, I don't know. Okay, there is this thing, and also there is another thing that, for example, I can even type it. Like we have two voices, and in the first voice, let's say, let's say we have A, which is 16th, and here we got, I don't know, quarter A. Then immediately we start doing measure, and I don't know, we kind of like repeat this thing. Yeah, that's interesting logic, I would say. But if I'm not gonna do, okay, so if I'm gonna just do this thing, how exactly it's gonna affect everything? Okay, so it seems like I'm not quite sure whether it goes here or with this thing, so let me just maybe change this thing to C and this thing also change to C. Okay, yeah, they're kind of like, I'm not quite sure if I'm being honest. So yeah. Okay, let me just put this thing as 16th as well. And yeah, I think if they were in the same, like, I mean, I don't know. That's weird. Okay, if I'm gonna put the quarters. Okay, yeah, those are already quite separate. And yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't think it's I've got some consistency here. Or maybe it's just because of this thing it changes the distance. So yeah, I believe it's because of this. And if we go into like 1 or maybe even 4, yeah. Alrighty. Oh. And yeah, if I'm going just to declare, so it's 8th, this is 8th, which just makes the whole thing as a quarter. So yeah, now this thing works, and if I put it as a quarter, yeah, okay, fair enough. And now let's say I'm gonna delete just one C, and then yeah, they're in different voices, which is fair. Or rather, not in different voices, sorry, in different like time frames even. So basically, yeah, it works as expected, but it doesn't work in this particular case, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, in this particular case it does not work because I just simply drop the node here and yeah, It doesn't sound pretty good, I must say. So what were we going to do with that? So in this case, it's quite clear that we don't have, if we don't have enough nodes to cover like the whole length, then I would say, so let's say if this thing and this is this thing, then of course, let's just for clarity, let me think. For clarity, we can add this thing one more time, I hope. Yeah, so basically we are compensating those things, and then we are kind of like rendering two sync nodes. And I mean, in this particular case, I suppose then we can take yeah, minimum time frame or something like that, and it kind of like would work, right? Yeah, it would work. But what comes to this when we are dropping and when the second voice doesn't cover all the duration, then what's going on? It's quite yeah, that's not trivial at all. So I'll probably give myself 10 minutes just to think about it. I mean, it's not easy to understand what's going on, but so the main problem, I think, how do I distinguish those cases on in general, right? When we have like multiple staves, multiple voices, how do I distinguish different edge cases? And I mean, that's not quite clear. How should I do this? Because here, if we dropping the second voice right after second unit, and we calculating like, you know, we are calculating the basically, yeah, we are calculating the whole thing. So let me think. So do we... Okay, so we're splicing this thing right together here, and we are not covering in this particular case. So we actually are not covering this particular thing. So in this case, I really don't understand what's going on. Maybe the splicing doesn't work properly, you know what I mean? So let me just log out this thing first, and after I'm gonna log out. What's going on here? So example 1. Actually it does, I think, pretty good job. I think. So we are splicing this thing. So let me remember how does splicing work. So if I'm gonna do this, right, I need to, of course, declare it. Let's just declare a simple variable. Maybe we should start with 0. And then let's say we splicing it. So in this particular case, we splicing like by the length. So I suppose it's 4. So yeah, A goes right it was before. So this thing works quite right, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it shouldn't create any troubles because we're splicing and we are calculating regarding only these things. And yeah, I don't know. Okay, I need to think. All right, so I think I realized what's going on. I think that here, let me see. Yeah, here we need to also splice at the end, right? So where was it? And also I'm thinking maybe should we splice? Yeah, because like at the end, yeah, for staves I don't think so because staves are stable, but voices are not that stable. So I should splice this thing. Probably. And the reason why the timings are different, of course, is because this thing goes this length and this thing goes this length. This is why this thing fails. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It should fail for this as well, but. Yeah, I'm not understanding everything here, but what I understand for sure is that we need to splice it at the end. Yeah. Before, I suppose before we are measuring those things, right? Yeah, let me also delete this because it's super confusing. And so we need to do this at the end of the measure, right? And so how do I splice this thing then? Because it's not that clear. Because in terms of structure, this thing belongs in the second voice, but I think it gets lost. But how do I detect that this thing gets lost? That's the biggest challenge right now, and I'm not particularly sure how to achieve this thing. So okie dokie, I don't know. Yeah, because this thing is different because we do have like we do have the next thing here. So what's the difference between this and this? I think the biggest difference here is that here we got the notes in one measure, and this still lasts certain amount of time, and yeah. But here, once we reached some point, then we should splice it somehow. And it's supposed to be at the end, right? Yeah. Oh god, it's so tough. Okay, so let me think. I thought that it would be easy to splice at the end, but I realized that in terms of structure I cannot detect this thing that easily. So tune tune tune. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So I think I understand how to do it. We still need to detect the mean time measure, and right, and once we do it, yeah, I'm not quite sure that, and once we do it, we need to be extremely precise. Yeah, because if this is undefined, we're assigning this value, which is correct. So I think that here here we're going through those values, and if one of them is less than strictly less than time for all measures, or rather time progression for all measures, time progression for all measures, then we setting it as undefined, right? Yeah. Okay, so how it works. Before we go into the details, we just do this thing. So if this thing exists, meaning that if it's not undefined, and that, let me just go like this. Now it should be easier, I hope so. And then if this thing strictly less than this thing, right? Because it's minimum, then we're saying, you know what, this thing does not work anymore. So yeah. On the other hand, we're splicing also here. We like saying, if verses are completely missing, we're just gonna splice them, that's not a problem. But if something is not spliced but still doesn't make any sense, we're just gonna assign as undefined. So, and that's about it. Okay, so it fails only for medium, which is a good sign. And let's hear. I'm pretty curious on the results. So I'm gonna just for fun listen what was before the wrong version and then the correct version. So let's listen some music at the end of the day. So this solution, I think, was when we, when we just hard coded the same value. But now, let's listen if the correctness remains, or maybe even something even more fixed, or maybe it's broken. I don't know. So let's listen. I don't know, man. I'm not quite convinced at the end. Let's listen one more time. Okay. All right. Yeah, here it's more like defined sound, but yeah. Maybe right now it's happening because of this thing, so let's assign as a 0 and let's try again. I don't know. Yeah, I believe it became more precise. I don't know. Yeah, we definitely made a progress here. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Alright. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious how many times this happening. Yeah, let's go just with awk. Like literally none of the times. Okay, that's a bad sign because it should happen, but it seems like it does not work, and I think I know why. I think I know why. It's because um oh right, or maybe not right, I don't know. Oh yeah, because we're assigning the minimum time, which is not correct approach. We should do something like this. So alright, so let me think. So you see, what's the irony? I still need to calculate mean time then. So yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Dun 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 dun. And but how do no, it's not correct. How do I calculate mean time if this thing will be like mean time? I mean, how does it even work like this? You know? So this is not correct. No. We should not get this thing. Okay, so what should I do? So we got this time progression for each voice and each stave. And for each such time progression, so maybe I truly need to calculate, maybe I really need to calculate I don't know what to calculate. So there is a clear difference between this and this. Here, this thing has some capacity, and this thing, how to say? I mean, it kind of like has capacity, but not really, you know? So yeah, I'm a bit confused. Okay, let me think for 10 more minutes. If I don't come up with a solution, I will do it tomorrow. Or at least I'll try. At least I know the root cause of these issues. And this is not this value at all, but yeah. How do I distinguish this from this case? Here we intentionally dropped the second twice, which is, I really don't understand why it was an original piece. I mean, why do you really need this thing? It's really kind of like weird. If you're using this thing, why are you not using here on, I don't know, just because to keep some stylistic features? I don't know. But who am I to judge people, right? I'm here just to solve problems. Okay, so. How do I solve this very particular problem? Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. So what's the harm if I delete the first voice, and I will say, so I'm cutting this first voice, right, setting to undefined, and then I reconsider this thing as a minimum, and I think it should work. So this is not really a problem, which is good news. But so yeah, we are just cutting. So we are. Oh, okay. So. I think I just think that I understood the problem. And the problem is that we still need to return this thing, but before that, oh my god, oh yeah. Yeah, that's crazy logic, but this is how it goes. We are searching for max time between those things, and if, let's say, some of the time progressions are less than that max time progression, then we're assigning it, I guess, to the undefined value. Alright. And then, like here, for example, yeah, I know that there are some nodes, but I don't really care. I just set that to the undefined, but I somehow still got the minimum number, right? So this function mean time for measure is not I mean, it's not correct at all. I don't think that I need to keep it as a separate measure. I think I should put this whole thing here just to keep everything on the surface. So that's been said. Let's copy this wonderful, amazing thing somewhere here, or maybe even above, because it's kind of like more general thing. Even more general, I think, than normalized pitches. Although I'm not quite sure, but let's start with here, and let's copy this wonderful thing. Time progression fall measures, which is another quite abstract name, which I don't necessarily like right now, but maybe it's okay in the global context, so we'll see. So I think it goes here, right? And of course I'm not gonna allow myself to call this thing as mean time, which is stupid. Mean time among time progressions. Okay, so here how it goes, and then yeah, and then we are saying, okay, so we found the minimum time, or not minimum time, mean time among time progressions. Yeah, I think we should rename this thing as time. I don't know, is this thing is being used somewhere else, or let me copy this wonderful thing and search in media, of course. So this is first file, and yeah, this second, which will be deleted. So time progressions, of course, for each voice and each stave. Okay, so mean time among time progressions. Alrighty. And time progression fall measures is actually mean time among time progressions, or it's the same thing with some adjustments. Yeah, in case if this thing is undefined. So yeah. Okay, so let me think. How do we do it? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm still confused because let me explain. Here, for example, if we start with minimum progression, we don't lose anything, right? We will just continue as we going. But here, we just we cannot start with minimum time progression, simply because if we start this thing like I mean it's like starts from here, I suppose, and and we needed to be starting here. So okay, I need some time. I need some time to understand this thing. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, there is clear difference between those two files, and there are a lot of similarities, so I gotta understand how to deal with them. But it's too late, unfortunately, as always, so yeah, if I wanna wake up tomorrow, I need to go now. So yeah, I guess that's about it.